Next up, we have the innovative operating models building on Cardano. It's going to be a really great one. Don't hesitate to use the hashtags that we have here with us today, Cardano Summit 2022, and also building on Cardano. There's a lot of really amazing things up next. Of course, as Tyler said in the panel just before, you have the choice. You had the choice to come here today, so thank you so much for partaking. And that being said, I will leave Jeremy to his panel.
All right. Well, hello everyone. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining this session to discuss innovative operating models on blockchain technology. And thank you for everyone around the world who is also tuning in. So my name is Jeremy Furster, and at Cardano Foundation, I am the Global Head of Enterprise. My mission is to explain to the common person why blockchain matters and what are those on-chain applications that generates value, not just on-chain, but within different industries. And I'm very privileged today to have an esteemed panel of companies who have been doing exactly this for the last few years. So while we're going through the introduction, I'd like to go by with each company and panelist to discuss what is their background with blockchain technology, what applications have they been deploying, and what is it that they're doing with Cardano today. I'll hand it over to my left.
Right, so nice to meet you, everybody. Thanks for having me today. My name is Ricardo Garcia, and I'm Director of Sales and Partnership at Scantrust, a company which, funny enough, is based 5 minutes from here on the same campus, right where we are today. And we're focused on anti-counterfeiting and supply chain traceability. So we have invented a technology which allows you to generate a unique QR code, which at the same time can also be protected with a special graphic in the center, so that a user at any moment in time can check if the product is real or fake. And we've been very involved in the blockchain space, mainly for food and beverage traceability projects, where essentially a code is printed on a physical product, and a consumer can check if the product is authentic and at the same time learn all about the history of this product. So last year we launched a project together with Cardano in Georgia with a company called Bias Wine, where we use our QR code-based technology and the Cardano blockchain to essentially make information about the history of a wine bottle publicly available to any consumer in a verifiable way. And the project got great traction. It's got great results and is now being expanded into a pilot project in a whole region in Georgia, where we're going to test this technology not only on one wine, but on approximately 15 different wineries to make this verified public information available to end consumers and tell them more about the story of the Georgian wines.
Thank you. Hey, great to be here. My name is Niall Dennehy. I'm the co-founder and the chief operating officer of a company called ATech. Last year, I had the pleasure of appearing virtually at the Cardano Summit, thanks to Jeremy and David Taylor. Delighted to be here with people in person in 2022 in this amazing venue. So first of all, hats off to Jeremy, the team, to put it together. But ATech, who we are, what we do. ATech is all in the name. ATech was the first company in the world in 2015 to deliver humanitarian aid over blockchain technology. We happened to do it in a refugee camp in Lebanon. The concept was to merge identity with payments, to bring traceability and transparency to the flow of international aid. And what we realized doing that was that there are over 1 billion people on the planet without any form of identity, which means that they're legally, they're socially, they're financially excluded. So what we set about doing back then, and we're doing it to this day, is very much focusing on products that solve real world solutions. Jeremy wanted me to talk about one of them, which was the first baby born in the blockchain, which happened on our platform in 2017, where in Tanzania, we digitized digital assets that a pregnant female would receive during the course of their journey. And the whole idea is to align with the Sustainable Development Goals, particularly in that one, which was target 3.2, which was to reduce neonatal mortality and to increase the health and well-being of mothers. We also have a product called Trace Donate, which I believe was one of the inspirations for Jeremy to get into crypto. He wanted me to mention that. But the thing that you will get from what I'm saying is we're very much focused on real world applications. We've done remittances, we've done welfare, we've done healthcare donations in the past, but we're very much now focused on the future, and the future for us is building on Cardano. And I'm delighted to announce that we recently received funding from Emergo, who are one of the headline sponsors. And if you think about Emergo, what they say is that they're all about socially responsible applications building on Cardano. And the thing that we're going to be deploying that we're extremely excited about, we believe it's going to be a massive hit with the community, is something that we call Kaulana, with the K, K-A-U-L-A-N-A. Kaulana is very much something that means something to a lot of people, and that is, it's the Hawaiian word for reputation, or to be held in high esteem by others, or to be celebrated for doing good. And specifically, and you're going to see this over the coming weeks, it's an application which enables you to build an on-chain reputation, get rewarded for your time, effort, energy, and contributions, initially in a volunteering context, physically, and then it can be virtually. And then we want to bring people together from the Cardano community to volunteer, get rewarded for their time. So that is coming to Cardano in 2023, and we're delighted to do it. And I think when people see it, you're going to be blown away by the UI, the UX, the amount of time we've taken. But it's a perfect solution for Cardano. And the thing that we feel about Cardano is right now, we feel that we're really at home with everybody here, and it aligns really with the vision. Jeremy talked about other blockchains. We can come to that we have worked with. But for us, Cardano it's a beautiful fit. So delighted to talk more, and thank you for listening.
All right.
I guess my turn is now. I'm the newcomer to the stage, I suppose. These guys met before on stage. Delighted to be here. Super excited. Couldn't sleep half the night. I'm Jack Krosinski, and I'm with Oceidon Corporation. And we do behavior analytics and scoring on the blockchain. Sounds daunting and complicated, and it is on the back end. However, on the front end where users interact with our scoring algorithms, it's actually something that distills a whole bunch of blockchain data into a singular actionable point. So, you can use your graphs, you can look at transactions and have massive amounts of data on your screen. You can go to Etherscan type of solutions, which are very shallow. We're kind of in the middle, where we analyze transactions, from wallets, assets moving through the chain, and we give them a certain score to reflect their behavior on chain. The interesting story here is how we got here. So in 2013, I was a miner of BTC. So that was my introduction into blockchain. I sold at $170. Okay, let's forget about that part. Fast forward 6-7 years, decided to jump back in and start trading meme coins and things like that. Obviously, sooner or later, I got rug pulled. And, we're sitting with a bunch of tokens that were worth nothing. With my partners, Husnu and Andy, we decided to, participate in the community and revive the project and try to, make, I think it was 3,000 holders whole. The guy that created the project left, obviously rug pulled, and we had nothing to do with him. Sooner or later, we realized that we don't have the keys to the contract. So, we built up the community into 10,000 people, and all of a sudden, well, the liquidity is going to get pulled again. So we moved them over to another contract. We moved liquidity. Everybody was safe. Andy and Husna and I left the project. But then that gave us an idea. How can we prevent this? How can we stop this from happening again on chain, right? So we started doing analytics on chain, looking at wallets, what they're doing. And we said, well, this is daunting, hard, difficult. why don't we create a system that will make this easy for us? That we can simply, easily look at a score, a risk score, for example, based on the participants of a particular project. And that's where Oceidon and Smart Score, which is available at smartcentral.io, is available for you to test drive. And that's pretty much it. Announcement, one quick one. We are now scoring Cardano. I guess that's why I'm here too. So we have an NFT merit score on Cardano. Put in your stake address there and check it out. I think veracity of data and things like that are important on the chain, and that's what we're bringing here.
Excellent.
Awesome. So my name is McCann. Excuse me. I work for the Cardano Foundation as the Vice President of Engineering. My job essentially is to oversee all of the IT function for the foundation, to drive its strategy and define how we want to proceed. So over the last few years, we've been building up the IT function. We started working with outsourcing partners. We started connecting with people like Ricardo to help us with the Buy As Wine project that we wanted to do. And I work very closely with the partnerships team. In my division, we have an open source team. We have an exchange integrations team that works with over 160 exchanges. They help over a couple of hundred partners all over the world integrate Cardano. And we provide technical guidance for them. We help them understand how they can take their business model and apply it to Cardano. We have an education team, or I have an education team, and then also development team working in-house and helping working with outsourcing partners. So all of this is starting to build up in the foundation, and it's something that maybe people haven't seen the activity from the foundation, but in the background we've been working on building up a robust team so that we can take on a lot more responsibility. So, and that's me. Thank you.
Great. One of the primary objectives of leveraging public blockchain infrastructure is about the role of trust. Now, whether this be about data records, digital assets, identity, financial infrastructure, and so on, there has to be a reason that we're doing this on blockchain technology versus a centralized database. Now, can each of you, for your applications, kind of discuss what is the role of trust for you, and why is that a value-generating activity?
Yeah, so I'm happy to start with the physical products angle. I think that's a pretty obvious one. We live in a world today where if you buy a product, whether it's a fashion product, a consumable, FMCG product, cosmetics, or even industrial products like motor oil or spare parts, this part has gone through such a complex supply chain with multiple distribution tiers, and the raw materials of this product come from so many sources that you cannot really trust, on the one hand, whether the product is authentic, and on the other hand, what the real provenance of this product is. And for a consumer, that's relevant on multiple levels. On the one hand, you want to be sure that a product is authentic, that you can trust that it's real, especially with sensitive products like baby milk that you give to your children, or spare parts that you put into your car or machines. On the other hand, you want to be sure that the materials out of which this product was made don't come from any areas where there is conflict, or from child labor or violation of human rights, and more. And the third dimension that is coming up more and more is the dimension of the carbon footprint. So in the future, our hypothesis is that many consumers are going to want to compare what was the carbon footprint of this product that I'm buying, and should I buy another one that has a lower carbon footprint. And the combination of a unique, secure digital identifier with a blockchain enables you to trace the entire history of an asset across its life cycle and make it available to the end user, so that you can really trust, on the one hand, that the product you buy is authentic, and on the other hand, you can see the whole history of where it's coming from, how it was made, and you can verify that it doesn't come from any conflict mineral sources or similar. And what is interesting is that this topic of better traceability of products is currently being pushed also very hardly by regulators. So there's a lot of new regulation coming up in Europe around the creation of digital product passports, which essentially is exactly what I described right now, an ID on a product that tells you about its history. And the goal of the European Union by launching these regulations is to give consumers a way to really verify what was the carbon footprint of a specific product and how comparable is it to others. So in the future, our hypothesis is that a lot of products are going to have IDs that allow you to check the authenticity, the provenance, and also the impact that this product had on the environment, which is a critical factor for trust for buying this product in the first place.
Great, yeah. Thank you, Jeremy. So our broader thesis, if you want to put it like that, is that there's a huge amount of uncaptured value in the world today. And that value then, the ideal way to capture that value is with tokenization. So if you think about it, with the volunteering context that we talked about, to throw some numbers at you, right now in the world today, there are about 1 billion people who volunteer their time every year. In the US, that's 77 million people. If you were to take the value of volunteerism to the economy of the UK, it would be worth 1% of GDP. So our thesis is that is uncaptured. And what we want to do is initially start out with people's time, their effort, their energy, their societal contributions. And with the blockchain, we see that proof of personhood, proof of humanity, proof of uniqueness, to be able to combine all of those together and have a non-fungible token representing your identity, and to link that to a rewards token, there's mutual value being shared between the two of them. So our, I guess, ambition is to enable people to build a reputation, to have a rewards token then linking to that. So even if a token was to become something that is of insignificant value, you carry your reputation with you wherever you go. So for example, if you think about it, and if you believe that blockchain is going to be where people's reputation, their identity data is at least stored or pointed to, our thesis is that should be tokenized. You've got your reputation, you've got rewards. And if you want to prove that you've completed something in the real world today, things like proof of attendance, to leverage that, to check in, to check out, putting a timestamp, some sort of information on a chain whilst protecting your privacy. When it comes to a trust-based model, we think that makes a huge amount of sense, and it's a value proposition that really enables people to own, control, manage, and eventually monetize their own identity data. That's how we've been approaching it. And I can give you one example. We've recently been doing pilots with an organization that we've signed a contract with in the US. They're called the National Voluntary Organizations Active in Disaster. We found out that these guys have 9.9 million volunteers who last year logged about 170 million hours of volunteerism. And we discovered, to our shock, but to our opportunity, that they usually, at best, capture this information on a spreadsheet. There's no coordinated way to do it between the different organizations. There's no trust model. So again, when it comes to Cardano, deploying a solution that can be leveraged by all these volunteer organizations globally, again, I said we feel at home, and that's why we think when it comes to Cardano with trust, what we're doing, it makes a lot of sense.
Trust. My earlier story alluded to trusting a project, participants of a project. Trust is a two-way street, and you know, the counterparty has to earn that trust in certain ways. Web3 is decentralized. It's a trustless system. It's a trustless system on the mechanical side of things. So you trust that when you submit a transaction, the counterparty will, execute that. But how do you trust the party that you're actually dealing with? How do you understand what their motivations are? What kind of actor are they? Do you want to do that transaction with them really? Do you want to participate in some sort of interaction where you don't really understand the consequences of that particular transaction because you don't have a historical context of who you're dealing with? That is where Oceidon and SmartScore view trust as. It's bringing context to the trustless system. It's bringing more data, more control to the users of who they want to participate with, whether they want to conduct transactions with them, whether they don't, to give them more power of deciding who requests interactions with them, whether they're going to allow it, whether they won't, whether they're going to condition it. So it's giving back power to the users of the blockchain in an anonymous way. So the score does not, for example, require any identity, credentials. It's simply based on what you've done on the chain, what kind of reputation you have, and the end user then decides whether that particular score meets their criteria or not. And the score eventually will be generated by participants through consensus. So general basic scores, for example, will, a risk score, interaction score of 750, consensus of the entire chain will say, yes, that is something that is acceptable to the majority of participants, and that's an easy transaction to make. Other people may have lower requirements, but what we're doing is trust. We're bringing trust back into a trustless system in our model.
Yeah, I fully agree. And when you were talking about the community and the trust there, I think it's important to know that, there's different levels of trust. And for me, it's up to the users, it's up to people to decide what sort of level of trust they require. For me, I like trust, but I also like verification. So I don't necessarily need to trust the party. I can verify a digital signature on the blockchain. And to me, that's really important to have that. But it's what's required by the end consumer. It's what's required by the system to get to that level of trust. So for us, when we talk to integrations partners, when we talk to people that come with unique business models, we need to know for them what's the level of trust. How deep do we need to go for people to accept what they're saying? It's a difference between an open source smart contract and a closed source smart contract. Which are you going to naturally trust more? It's the same with a consensus algorithm, one that's open source and peer reviewed, or one that's closed source. So it really depends on, that group of people that is going to accept and the different levels of trust that are appropriate for a system. But and this is why with the buy as wine side of things, for us, the level of trust was that, okay, buy as wine will digitally sign that record. Scantrust will digitally sign, and that's enough trust. That was an appropriate amount of trust that can be verified. So beyond that, it really depends on the system.
So I have a question for you, Mel, which is, why Cardano? A lot of these applications and the promise of leveraging blockchain technology started with the use of Bitcoin, where in those days, 6 years ago, we're looking at a memo that you can add to a transaction that has around 70 bytes of data. And so many things just weren't really being able to prove that trust or to bring out the benefits of public blockchain. So what are these technical capabilities that makes trust become more easy to implement and have that greater value proposition?
Well, obviously, we both work for the Cardano Foundation, and the trust is that we don't run the network. The SPOs run the network. So we don't get to decide what happens to the network. But also, when we're talking about features of the blockchain, you have a significant size of metadata. You have a substantial amount of decentralization because of that. And you also have the immutability of every blockchain. It's the same sort of deal. But the combination of that decentralization and the trust that we instill in all of the SPOs means that the value of a public permissionless blockchain that's widely decentralized, it offers significant value to building a business on that, because I don't have to trust that if it's a private blockchain, I don't have to trust that Jeremy won't roll back something, if he's been bribed or whatever. I think it'd be a tall order to bribe 3,000 SPOs. But this is the beauty of Cardano. Anyone can participate. Anyone can, put a metadata record on that references a supply chain or references digital identity. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd like to rapid fire that. What is the key feature that you see on Cardano that is able for you to generate more value on chain?
Sure.
I can start. So for us, obviously, from a supply chain perspective, the metadata feature is really critical, as that's the core feature we leverage to add more data to the history of an asset. And that's like one of the key selling points. But I think it's a combination of other factors as well. On the one hand, transactions are affordable. On the other hand, you can store a lot of data with the transactions. It's fast. And then there is also a non-technical argument, which is there is a huge community around the protocol, which almost allows you to launch an application in that community as well and leverage the feedback, leverage the reach. And the combination of all these four things is what made it really appealing for us.
From my point of view, the thing I would come back to, I would take from Ricardo, is the community. And setting the rules of the road to, I think, what Mel was pointing out, that to us is the key thing. It's feeling that we're aligned with the mission, the vision, the values, how the community see things blowing out. And Mel mentioned there, the things that a blockchain gives you innately: permanency, immutability, non-corruptibility. But I would say for us, the single biggest thing, it goes back to the partnership that we have with the amazing guys at Emergo, is that it aligns with what we're doing, engaging people, community, bringing everybody together. It sounds a little bit cheesy. I'm not super technical, but one of the things that we are excited about is when it comes to payments capabilities, because again, I mentioned at the start, we're very much focused on merging identity with payments in every offering across numerous different blockchains. But if Hydra turns out to be as promising as it sounds, I think that could be a game changer for us in our ability to merge identity with payments. But all the good stuff, the recent hard fork, Vassal, it addressed issues, I won't say concerns that we had, but we're very bullish. But I would say it really comes back, and again, this is not just cliche, the community of people involved.
So I'm going to get apples thrown at me here, but Cardano is boring in a certain sense. It's stable. Development is well planned, executed. It's reliable. Hasn't gone down. So in that sense, it's boring, which is perfect for a business to build upon. There isn't chaotic movements we see on other chains. On the other hand, it's extremely exciting because the community, alluding to my co-panelists here, is extremely involved. So from our perspective, we get to validate our products early on. We get to validate our scoring algorithms, whether they reflect the vision and the needs of users. So access to the community that we don't get on other chains, a vocal community, is what really counts for us, with Smart Score and what we're doing.
Great. So we're winding down to the last couple of minutes, and I don't want to hold everyone from the important lunch that's about to be served, but I would like to hear some final thoughts on, broad market adoption. This is a paradigm shift in operating models when it comes to critical infrastructure that's not in your control. And we all want to see adoption happen beyond our individual actions, to truly see operating and financial systems be augmented and upgraded with blockchain technology. And especially when we're in a world of constant volatility within the blockchain industry and, constant options to choose from. How is it that you're able to move forward with this level of uncertainty? Or in better words, how do you de-risk decentralization?
So I'll start with a very quick thought since we're running out of time. But for a long time, there was a debate, do you need a blockchain for supply chain traceability and why would you use it? And there is a really strong argument now that has come up in the last 2 years, which is regulation. So there's a ton of regulation on multiple levels in multiple industries that will force companies to document certain things about the history of a product. And if it's for regulatory reasons and you have to prove that something happened at a certain point in time, and it may also be used in front of court for evidence at a certain moment, you want to be sure that that evidence is documented in a decentralized, immutable way so that you can really trust it. And I think these kinds of sustainability-focused regulations, which are coming up in all industries, are giving adoption a big push at the moment in the supply chain world.
The bridge between blockchain and off-chain is a little shaky still. A lot of legacy systems don't gel with what we have to offer. So I think all the panelists here, to wrap up my point and not go too deep into it, our job is to create a bridge between off-chain and on-chain where we can leverage what a distributed ledger can provide to legacy systems. And our businesses and business models allow for these things to happen easier and quicker.
Education. That's how you de-risk for me. If we want to de-risk anything, we need to educate people. People need to be informed about how to use this, how to manage their own funds, how to manage their own identity, and start taking ownership of that. And that's how we progress as an industry.
And we would see that progressive decentralization is the way to go. If you think about the biggest problem as we still see it for the adoption of crypto is, people will know this already, is terrible UI, terrible UX, really poor experience, people having to self-custody keys, manage their phrases. But we see that, initially it's going to be a web, to use some jargon that's out there at the moment, a Web 2.5 approach to make it easy to onboard the non-crypto natives. So that's going to be the big breakthrough. But to do that, then I think you have to do it in a progressively decentralized manner. So enable people to take custody of their keys over time. But if you're dealing with people like my mother who's in her 60s and asks, what do I do for a living, to try and explain this stuff to her, we want to get people like her involved. And we're confident that she will when we launch this new app on Cardano and people have her ilk. But we think that's the way to de-risk the whole thing. Really focus on the user. Again, product market fit pyramid, target customer, underserved need, value proposition, feature set, then UI. And then think about decentralization. If you take it away, would the pyramid fall apart? And if it does, you do need decentralization. That's how we approach it.
That's well said. Well, I look forward to continuing our collaborations together for that further progress. And I'd like to thank you all for joining us here at Cardano Summit 2022. And thank you for everyone listening.
Thank you.